hot off the back of yesterday's The Gamer Couch podcast. Go watch it if you haven't already, link in the description, and you can download now via SoundCloud as an MP3 file to listen to on your commute, at work, on the go, whatever. But yeah, on yesterday's couch we discussed Nintendo, Microsoft and Sony consoles going through 2017, and so every now and then I'll read the odd article here and there, and if it's really interesting, well written, well rounded articles always catch my attention. So I'd like to give the writer a little extra exposure. It's important that we shine the spotlight on great work, and of course I take no credit whatsoever. What is up everybody, it is Fox at PlayStation News Now, your regular source of news, rumour, video game discussion and the Gamer Couch podcast. Go check out the previous video in this video description, there's a link. But in today's video, courtesy of twinfinite.com, Ishmael Romero has written a lengthy article which we've condensed and reworked into a friendly video format. Where appropriate, I will be paraphrasing. So the title of this video article is PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One versus Nintendo Switch. Which of the three companies has the best upcoming exclusives? The PS4 has a surprising number of exclusives lined up for 2017. There are 46 games that are set to release on the PS4 alone or on Sony's console and PC, with most falling under the umbrella of true exclusives. That's a ton of games, but of course quantity doesn't always translate into quality. However, we can take a step back and take a look at what big games are on the horizon, and which ones may just garner more attention and have a good chance of being solid experiences. The first party exclusive lineup is looking fairly impressive thanks to the likes of Gravity Rush 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, MLB The Show 17 and the upcoming Uncharted 4 standalone DLC, as well as Knack 2. It's a varied group that is sure to provide many PS4 owners with hours of game time. Horizon Zero Dawn is probably the one with the most pressure riding on it. It's a brand new type of game from Guerrilla Games, and it's also going to be one of the first titles to show what the PS4 Pro is really capable of. From the gameplay we've checked out and the latest trailers, it looks like there are plenty of reasons to be excited, even with all the added expectation. While the PS4's first party lineup is relatively light, Sony more than makes up for that with a strong third party support system that will keep exclusive titles, some of which are highly anticipated, rolling onto the console throughout the year. Nier Automata from Platinum Games and Square Enix brings fast-paced combat, interesting camera usage and huge bosses to the console, while Neo keeps the RPG train rolling with Ninja Theory's own take on the Souls-like craze. Then there's Persona 5, a highly anticipated JRPG entry in one of the best series out there, and it's finally coming to the West. Don't worry though, there aren't just JRPGs on the PS4. Next Machina is putting a twist on Resogun's bullet hell formula, and Yakuza 0 and Kiwami are bringing everyone's favourite gangsters to the PS4, and especially for those waiting on Shenmue 3. And then there's Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which is all about smashing boxes and surviving tight platforming challenges. The exclusive lineup on Sony's latest console is definitely looking well thought out, which is very important. There is plenty of diversity spread throughout 2017, and there looks to be a healthy balance between AAA titles and smaller indie games. Also helping smooth out the wrinkles is the strong third-party multi-platform support. So titles like Mass Effect Andromeda, Call of Duty, Destiny and the likes will certainly keep things lively. Also, while not necessarily what some may look to for when really trying to gauge the PS4's lineup, PlayStation VR is also bringing some experiences to the console for those bothered to pick up the headset. There are 18 VR titles confirmed for a 2017 release, and while they're not exactly PS4 exclusive, neither the Xbox One nor Nintendo Switch will have them, so they are definitely something to consider. Okay, moving on to Xbox One / Xbox Scorpio. The Xbox One started off 2017 a bit rough thanks to the cancellation of the highly anticipated Scalebound from Platinum Games. That left a rather large gap in its first party exclusive lineup, leaving Sea of Thieves, Halo Wars 2, State of Decay 2 and Crackdown 3 as the only big titles left in that group. More worrying is the fact that of those 4, only Halo Wars 2 has an actual release date, and Crackdown 3 has gone silent since its delay into this year. In fact, other than Halo Wars 2, the only other Xbox One exclusive that has a set release date is Rise and Shine, a side-scrolling action game that has you using guns to take out enemies and solve puzzles. The upcoming lineup for the console is looking pretty sparse, with very surprising that Microsoft is planning on launching Project Scorpio, a 4K HDR VR-ready upgraded Xbox One later this year. In fact, several of the upcoming games are titles mostly indie that were revealed quite some time ago. 2 prime examples are below, a game that seems part A Link to the Past, part Dark Souls, and then there's Cuphead, a challenging action game with artwork that looks like it was pulled straight off a classic 1930s cartoon. Both look like they can be breakout hits, and Cuphead is set for a Q2, Q3 release, think spring or summer. Below, however, still doesn't have a set release date, but is expected to release sometime within the next 12 months, so that's something. There's no easy way to say this, but the Xbox One has a lot riding on just a few titles, some of which we haven't received any word on in quite some time. Hopefully the lack of quantity doesn't affect the platform, as any could end up being a stellar exclusive. Chances are that Microsoft has some big announcements for upcoming events that will likely make use of Scorpio and add to the Xbox One's offerings. How many of those would actually be able to make it out into 2017 though, only time will tell. And then there's Nintendo Switch's exclusive lineup. Now obviously, having just been revealed and projected to launch on March 3rd, which is more than 3 years late, later than PS4 and Xbox One at least, Nintendo doesn't exactly have any advantage in terms of exclusives, but what's on offer and on the horizon is certainly promising for Nintendo fans. Saying that, Nintendo Switch's lineup is looking pretty light also, which is expected of a brand new console. Unlike the other piece of hardware releasing later this year, this isn't just some beefed up version of a platform that already exists. It's something brand new and doesn't have an established library to fall back on. However, although things were pretty light, that doesn't mean there's no reason to be excited for Nintendo Switch. For starters, it was revealed that Legend of Zelda would be a launch title releasing on March 3rd, which is just around the corner, and that's a pretty big deal. Nintendo properties tend to be huge system sellers, they really move boxes, and even Sony and Microsoft acknowledge how powerful their stable of games actually are. The approach, though, as of right now, is a bit odd. There isn't a whole lot appealing in launch week, and that may end up being an issue for Nintendo. However, the rest of the year is looking pretty strong. Titles releasing this year include Xenoblade 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, Super Bomberman R, and there's also a very impressive looking Super Mario Odyssey during fall of this year, which will no doubt be part of the holiday push for Nintendo Switch, barring any delays. Unfortunately, there isn't much else that's confirmed for 2017, with many titles sitting under the highly mysterious to be disclosed or determined umbrella. Still, what is confirmed does look good. Having 5 solid exclusives within the launch year is a feat within itself for Nintendo. Many may not recall, but it took the PS4 and Xbox One a while to get into their groove. The Switch, being a new console, will need some time as well, but it's not looking too shabby exclusive-wise. So moving on to the conclusion. It's actually a pretty exciting year when you stop to think about it. While each platform will be receiving drastically different quantities of games, there are some heavy hitters waiting for us in the next couple of months, making this an exciting time to play. However, there are some very clear disparities that stick out no matter which console you're a bigger fan of. There's no denying that the Xbox One will have a tough time this year after the loss of Scalebound. If Crackdown doesn't end up releasing in 2017, then Sea of Thieves and Halo Wars 2 will have to do a lot of heavy lifting. A lot to ask of 2 games that aren't exactly mainstream for the platform. Even with the PS4's massive list, it will likely have to contend with Nintendo's own heavy hitters. Xenoblade, Mario and Zelda Breath of the Wild are definitely no slouches, so Sony will need to hope that its own big games work their magic. Yet, even if Nintendo does steal the show with those titles, the PS4's spread is not to be trifled with. It's the only lineup that can deliver multiple anticipated exclusives each month, and that's really saying something. For that reason alone, I'm gonna have to call this year in favor of the PS4. But as is always the case in video games, anything can happen in the next 12 months, and it's still anybody's game. We'll just have to see who wants it more. So that's where the article pretty much ends. So do we finally have a 3-horse race? Because obviously we don't want Sony to monopolize the console market in any way, shape or form. That would be bad for gamers, consumers, but really good for Sony. And they could dominate prices, and there'd really be no pressure on them to produce the goods. So I'm really hoping we actually have a 3-horse race in 2017 going into 2018. Which company do gamers think has the biggest uphill struggle? Who has the more promising games? And if you don't own any of the aforementioned consoles or are interested in adding one as a second console, which of the 3 entices you more? Let us know in the comments. And that, my gamer friends, brings us to the end of another video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share content on this channel. Remember, play games, not corporations. Thanks for watching, everybody.